Hey guys, so we're gonna do the shading that you want to talk about, but first I'm going to base coat everything because that takes a minute. So I have the Bloom and Birdie Hideaway set here with me. This one is just the birdhouse. I figured this would probably be an easy one for those of you who are wanting to learn how to shade. For the shading, we will be using brushes. There are different ways to shade though, and like most of you, I'm self-taught as well, so I didn't go to like an extensive art school. In fact, my bachelor's is in criminal justice. So with that said, self-taught is amazing. You pick and you play and you test out what works for you and what doesn't. And I have found what works for me may not work for you. So test it, try it, change it up. With that, we're going to base coat. Sorry, my nose is really itchy right now, and I don't know why. We're going to base coat. And I just did a video. Okay, grab my thingy. I just did a video on this, on the color matching of the different art colors to, I'm probably going to run that over now, to the color matches that I have at Home Depot. But because Home Depot is so hard for you guys, they won't give me the right way to be able to share all my colors with you guys. So I'm just going to switch over to DecoArt and we'll just go from there. I just realized that my brushes are in liquid and I don't know why that is. That's not cool. So with that, I'm going to set them all there. Now they're not in a cup anymore. We're going to go and I'm going to base coat the birdhouse first, and then we'll go over and I'll show you how I shade, float, whatever you want to call it. Two different ways. I'll show you the brush and I'll show you with a makeup sponge. And let me make sure I have a makeup sponge before I tell you that's what I'm going to show you. See, just ran it over. Cool, I have one. It's the wedges that you guys get in your kits or in your orders. So, and I'm just following the label on the I have it over here on my iPad, so it's just the colored labels. I'm following those colors. I've also found when you're a beginner and you're learning to shade, the gnomes are probably the best to start with. I know gnomes are 50-50. Some people love them, some people hate them. They're growing on me. They were not my thing, but I actually really enjoy painting them. So they're an easy one to start learning how to shade and add colors and dimensions to, just because you can kind of think of like, oh, in my mind, the nose is going to shine over here or the hands over here, and you can add details that way. But I think that this one will be an easy one too, just because of all the etched pieces on it, and we can add some layers and colors and dimensions that way. You might have to yell at me to stay on the screen because that's just how I roll. I'm zoomed in, I believe, as much as I can get in, which makes it awkward, like I'm reaching. So I have the base, I have all my colors over here, and I'm going to start with the base coat of it. We're going to do light avocado. And then let's see, I think I just pulled that out for the other ones. And then the stem, like the label, let me get you in here, is the light cinnamon. Then we have some white for these little guys. So it's a warm white. And then the two blues. If you watched the video for the blues, you found I wasn't able to color match the lighter blue. So I'm just using the Whispering Turquoise. And for Cascade, I'm using the Laguna. Then for purple, the purple on the flowers, and the inner yellow, I have Wisteria and Banana Cream. And then all the pink. Let's see, I don't have any in that one. And that one's just the other colors. So the beak is persimmon. I don't know why that's a hard one for me. And then the pinks for this birdie here, I'm using the Vintage Pink and the Baby Blush. And if you watch the video again, you'll find that those pinks that I use for my Home Depot colors, couldn't find matches there either. So they're going to be a little bit different versus the labels. But these are the colors that I'm using right now for this one. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to put the purples to the side. We'll set it all out like I normally do. So that's going to go there. That's going to go with the bird. That's going to be a bird. So we'll put those over there. These blues, where'd the blues go? The blues will be a bird. So we'll put those over here. Oh, and black. For the little circle guys, those are black. And then these are white. The E here is white. So we'll put this to the side. Brown for this stem, and then green, the light avocado for this little beaded piece and this background piece here. So we'll start with that first, and we'll get going. I can switch views. Let me see if I can switch views for you guys can get a better. There we go, a little bit, because you'll want to see my palette as well. So just for the base coating, it's just like you would before with the magic eraser. And then just come on here and base coat. And there was talk about not getting in the grooves. Do you see that? How I didn't get in any of these grooves? It's because of the magic eraser and super light coats of paint. And now that I said that, I'll probably see, like I did, I'll probably get paint in it. But in order to not get in these grooves, and it doesn't bug me as much as I know it does bug a lot of people. So if you want to avoid getting paint in them, I would do super duper light coats and do it multiple so that you can get the light coats in there and not worry about getting the paint in the lettering or in the etched pieces or scored pieces or whatever you're thinking that you don't want to get color in. I'm going to dry this really quick so we can get another base coat on there. So now you don't really have to worry because up here, right around here, you're going to put that Eve up there after it's painted. So I'm not too worried about that. Not too worried about getting a solid color around the, I don't know what you would call those, where the birdies would crawl into their house, the holes. I'm not too worried about those either. This one, we'll just touch up a little bit because we can add some color to it. And when you're doing all the colors and the layering and everything, you don't need as many layers. So with that, we're done with this green. I'm just going to slice this piece off so we can reuse this sponge. So now it's new sponge. Man, my nose is so itchy. Okay, and then we'll just do this bottom piece here, the brown. This is the light cinnamon. Grab the same sponge that I just sliced off and we'll just color it, paint it. You can add some textures and stuff to it to make it look like more wood, but right now I just want, because you guys said that you're struggling with the shading, so that's what I want to focus on right now is the shading. If I wanted to add more texture to it, I would probably dry brush it in a different brown, or you can use liner brush and do it that way. But I like the dry brush look a little bit more than the liner brush. Okay, so we're going to set this aside and we'll let it dry fully. Let's put my rag behind me. Put this one over here. I like to paint all my, give all my base coats before I start working into the details. So that's what I'm doing right now. It's just, we're going to base coat everything before we move on to the shading. And the white, just remember it's like the little beaded pieces, this little guy here that I just got white all over. It's going to go on the top. So just remember that you don't need a solid color on that one because it's going to be a background piece and not so much in the forefront. These guys I'm going to give a little bit more color to because they will be a forefront piece. So we'll give some more solid color to it. Not worried about streaks. I'm not worried about my fingerprints from holding. Again, if you've been around much, I'm also not worried about the edges. Like if you want to detail your edging, like if it gets down there, grab a Sharpie. I don't know, that word just poof, gone out of my brain. Grab a Sharpie and you can color the sides in. You can use a dark brown Sharpie or a black Sharpie if you like the nice, neat edges. Also, people use the wood floor markers, like the touch-up markers for wood floor. People use those too, and those work great too. So if you don't like your edges, paint on your edges, then you can use that kind of things to touch up. So then I'm going to do the base coat for these guys first, and we're using Vintage Pink. His on the label, I have his wing. Words are not my friend today. I have his wing a different color. I'm just going to base coat his body. I'll avoid his beak because we can do that with the brush in a minute. I'm trying, where's my, you guys, there it is, my pokey. So I'll just go around his beak here, and we'll do that later. I'm not worried about his eyeball because I'll come in later with the marker to color in his eyeball. And then his wing, I have in a lighter pink, so it's the baby blush. So we'll grab that. We'll grab my pokey friend here. We'll let those dry off to the side. Then we'll grab the blue guy because their beaks are the same color. So we'll do, okay, so the body I did in a lighter color. So I'm using Whispering Turquoise for the body. And then we're going, I didn't even open this one. Doing Laguna for the wing. Stuck to my hand. Okay. I'm just using the other side of the sponge that I just used for the pink. And you can see that the Whispering Turquoise is a very transparent color. So you'll definitely need multiple coats on that if you don't want the wood colors to show through. This one, the Laguna, is a good match to my Cascade. And then we'll do this guy. Let's dry it up a little bit more. Give him a more solid color. I need a bigger table. Just have a little workbench table. Okay, there's the bird. We'll set him to the side. Well, can do his beak while we've got him here. And I'm just going to grab a little liner brush. This is the number 2. It's just a round, not a liner, it's a round. Same thing in my head, but they're different. So that's just the persimmon. Might give it another coat in a little bit, but right now we're just giving the base coats and going through the ugly stage, right? Because every project when you're painting has the ugly stage. So let's get through that. And then we'll do the pretty stage. We can do the black. I'm going to use the side of the brown one. So I just picked it up on that side. Okay, we'll move that to the side, and then let's do the flower. I didn't open this one either. I usually open and just pull from the lid. I'm gonna be like my kids, don't do like I'm doing. Don't use your teeth to open the bottle. Okay, this is the wisteria. Let's see. Which one can I slice off? Let's slice this side off. Let's pick up some wisteria and hold it with my pinky. We'll do this flower. You can do them different colors. You can alternate yellow and purple or whatever you want. You do not have to follow to the T what I'm doing. Now for the middle, it's just a banana cream. And for that, I will use the back of this little embossing tool and dip into the lid and then just kind of circle around. And there's the yellow. Now I want to zoom in on you guys. Can I come closer? Can you see that? Is that better? So there you go. You have the yellows. Where's my rag? Okay, so base coat's done, right? We've got everything base coated. See how fast that was? Like 15 minutes, you're base coated, done. Now, let's go back to this guy. Again, if you wanted to add some wood texture, you can do that here. I personally would dry brush just because I like the look of that. So I would grab one of my stencil brushes or a chip brush if you have a small enough one. And literally it is what it is. It's a dry brush dipped in the paint and mostly scraped off and used that way. I feel like you guys aren't getting the better view. I'm going to move this up. I feel like it was a better view when you're side by side. Let me see if I can pull you back in. Well, I don't know if I want to do that. What if I do this? And nope, move that guy over. Nope, I don't like that. Sorry, we're just going to play around with the views here because I want you to have a better view. I'm going to move you this way of this. We'll zoom it back out. And that's how it's going to work. Okay, this way. We'll find it. We'll find it. I guess I wanted you guys to see the palette. That's why I did it the other way. Okay, just kidding. We're going back this way. Okay, so now that we've figured out what view we want to see, I'm going to go. Let's start with the brush instead of the sponge. So we used, I want a darker one than that. We used the light avocado, and I'm going to go with the darker one, which is the, I'm going to pick, I'm going to go plantation pine. So the plantation pine, nope, I'm used to opening the honey bottles. I don't have to do that. We can open it and squeeze it. I want to see if you can make sure you can see that in there. So just a little dollop, like tiny, tiny bit. You see it's spreading now, but that's my pinky. Now, let's talk about mediums. There are different options for how you want to keep your paint, what they call open. You want a wet paint. You want the paint to be wet, and you want a wet brush. So with that, the bigger the brush, the better. And I like angles. So the biggest brush you can use for the size of the piece, right? So this one is a 1/2 inch. It's just a 1/2 inch angle. You can see that. I don't know if this camera does never want to zoom in on my stuff or focus in. This, I use water most of the time. It's water. I have played around with this. It's okay. It's not that I wouldn't use it. It's just not in the forefront of my mind when I go to paint. So it's not something that I grab to use. This is the Deco Art Tradition. It's the extender and blending medium. So you can buy this. I bought this at my local paint store. So I'm sure you can find it at Michael's or somewhere that sells the deco art. I mixed it in this little bottle. So if you ever see me using this, this is what's in here. It's 1/3 of that blending medium with the rest water. And you can spray it on your piece, or you can mix it in with the paint. Or there is Josana's Flow Medium that people use. And then there is Folk Art. Somebody sent me this when I bought a kit, when you watched me struggle with flowers. And then I went and bought a flower painting kit. And of course, it's not going to zoom, but it's a Folk Art. It's called Folk Art Floating Medium. So you can use this. This is still, I haven't even tried this. So you can try this too. Again, I mostly used just water. So I have clean water here in my cup, just clean water. I'm going to get my brush wet. And then this is probably where most people struggle. And this, I still, to this day, so don't think that it's like the more you practice, the better you get. Sometimes I have good days, I have bad days. So get your brush wet and then just kind of get most of the water off here. I'm going to take just the toe, find the camera, just the tip toe of this angle brush, and I'm going to dip it in here. And we're going to then go back and forth. Can you see that? And I'm just going back and forth to blend it in. And can you see it? That's like super watery still. That is where, if you have too much water on your brush, you're going to get the, you're going to see watermarks on it. So let's see if it'll work. So we blended, and now I'm just going back and forth here. See, not enough paint. So I'm going to come back in here, grab some more, same spot. Back and forth. You see that? Just go back and forth and blend it in the brush, right? And it's only on the toe. And can you see, you can see where there was a lot of water on that side and not enough over here. Let's see, I'll dry it, and then you can see the actual shading portion of it. Try not to mess up my little guys over here. So can you see where we shaded that? Oh, look, it focused. Yay for us. And there was, it didn't leave the watermarks. It looked like it was going to, but it did not. That means you have the right ratio, right? So now we're going to go back in. I'm going to dip my brush in here, get it more wet. I'm going to come back in here to the toe. And we're just going to go back and forth. I'm going to blend, blend, blend. And we'll come down here. So I don't want this dry. So here's the other thing that probably when I started doing this, I struggled with. If this is still wet, it's going to move your paint. So if I'm coming over here and this is still wet, that whole corner would have moved with me, not enough paint. And then I would have had to go back in there and redo that whole corner. And that sucks. I hate that. I hate it when that happens. The other thing, you want your whole entire brush down. So another thing I've seen people do, and I'll catch myself still doing it to this day, is when you're shading, you want the whole brush down flat on the surface. You don't want to hit just like the toe and come at it this way. You want, that was wet. I just stuck my hand in it. You want the whole brush down. You see how the whole brush is down on the piece. You see that? The whole brush was down on the piece. And that is helpful too. So then it's just literally, you guys, a matter of practicing what you want to see and where you want to shade and how you want to highlight. I might come in here. I'm going to get some more water on here. Get some more paint on here. That's a lot of water, so maybe that'll make that. And I'm just, this is in place because we're going to put that on the top. This is too much water. So now you're going to see watermarks. This I want to show you. Too much water. You see, look at all that water. Too much, way too much. That might be a problem too. when you're starting out and you don't know the ratio of what's going to work and what's not. Of course, when I'm trying to show you the watermarks, it's not going to show you the watermarks, but you can kind of see up here how that went up that way. But if you have too much water, when it dries, sometimes you'll see the whole brush stroke and it will leave the watermarks. That's how you know you've got too much water on there. Now let me show you. Can I show you with the sponge? I think I have a smaller one. Let me try the smaller one. Oh, cool. It's already. Oh, I need more green on there though. Okay, so we're going to pull in more of the light avocado, right? That's what we used for this. And here's another way that you can shade the edges. So I've already got that all shaded. So I'm going to show you up here because it's going to get blocked anyways. So I'm dipping, move my water so you can see. I'm dipping the sponge over one side. So you can only see the one side on there. And then the darker green over here, right? They're touching. And then I'm going to come over here. And like I did the swipe, swipe, swipe with my brush, I'm just blending. You see how those two are blended together? Now, I know I want to shade with this side, right? And this side is the color of my piece. So that's how I'm going to move all this stuff because I'm going to stick my hand in that paint. Just, I knew I'm going to see the brushes just went in there for the sponges. Move that, move this. And then move this over here because I'm going to make a mess in a second. Okay, so I've got my sponge, dark side, that's the shadow side. And this is the light side of the paint that's already painted here, right? So I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to dab. That's all it is, you guys. Dab, dab, dab. So that might be when you're very first starting. That might be the easier way to give you shadow, right? But just remember that you have to have the paint color that you used on your piece on there too, so that it blends. If you do just, where'd my scissors? Ah, found them. I'm going to show you just if I just decided to use the dark side and not blend, right? So if I've just picked up the dark green here, I'm kind of dabbing it over here like I did, like I showed you before to blend the colors, but it's still just the dark piece. Now, if I did that, it doesn't blend as well. You'll get more of a harsh cutoff in the shade, right? So can you kind of see, well, because it's a makeup sponge, it's cool and it'll do that. But you'll get more of a harsh cutoff in the shading piece and they don't blend together. So if you want your colors to blend together and make it look like you've actually floated, like here, you want the two colors on the brush here. So let me show you the difference. So now I blended the dark edge on the outside. And I know my colors are blending really well. See how that, well, I just covered up the other piece anyways. Can you see how this side blends and this side has more of a harsh edge to it? So those are your two options with shading. I like the sponge for beginners. That's an easy one. That one's going to get covered like that anyways. We can do it like with this guy, right? So if we wanted to have this side darker, the bottom edge, you can just come in here with the brush or the sponge and just do the bottom. And if you mess up there, you've got your green on that side. So you don't have to worry about like, oh no, I just ruined the whole piece. Guess what? You have the green that you base coated with on that side. So you can just go touch it up. So there you go. There's a little shadow. And if you added some light green to the top, then you'll give it even more depth and dimension to it. So those are the two ways that I like to shade, float, give dimension, whatever you want to call it. It's called many, many different things by many, many different people, especially those of us who are self-taught. So now I'm making a mess over here too. I'm just the mess maker. That's just how I roll. Let's see. We can get some black in there. So I'm going to grab my number 2 again, and I'm just going to dot these guys' eyeballs. You can use a marker. I saw you guys talking about using the paint markers. Those are great options. If you struggle with lines, use your markers. Okay, flowers are fun with petals, and I like to do the flowers with makeup sponges. So these actually are where I'll come in with the harsh lines. I'm just going to do a white on this one. So I'm just grabbing some white, picking up some white. And not that you can see on that sponge, but I'll just come in here and dab the edges. So those ones do have the harsh. I'll show you. The harsh lines from one color to the other. I really wish this camera would focus better. Let me see if I put my hand here. No, it's just not. I need a better camera, guys. Back it up, back it up. So there's the harsh line from the white to the purple on there. Now, if I grabbed wherever my angle, there it is, but I'm going to grab a smaller one this time. So this one is the 1/4 inch angle. Getting it wet. It's just water, just on the toe. Swipe, 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 like we did with the other green, right? And if you get too much water on there, you can always pinch it off. Just like that. Just pinch it off. And then you can come in here and float, shade, highlight the edge, wherever it's over here. My pink pokey is. I'll take pictures and put them in the comments for you guys, but you'll be able to see the difference. So like that's with the brush, and this one's with the sponge with the harsh edge. So you'll be able to see the difference in the two flowers. And then actually I wanted to do, it's too much water on that, so I'm just going to grab some more and wipe it off. I'm going to go back in the white because I wanted to highlight. I'm going to give this a little bit. I feel like that's not enough blending. That's the other thing. You got to make sure it's blended. So just kind of like a nice little highlight over here in the corner. Nothing drastic, nothing huge. And less is more, you guys, because it'll dry different than what it's looking. So like that's too much for me. So I'll just come in here and wipe it with my finger. You can kind of give it like a little, gives it a little highlight there. These two are different. And then let's see the birdies, the birds. We can go opposite of what they were. I almost wiped that on my pants because I'm used to wearing my Carhartts. I'm not wearing my Carhartt today. So this is same quarter inch. And we'll just highlight the top of him, right? Not enough water. Do you see how dry that was? So I'll come in here, give it, my water cup's too far away. I can't see if I'm even dipping in there. Give it some more water so you can move it around. And that's what the floating mediums help, so that it keeps it open is the technical term I learned. It keeps the paint open so that you can move it around longer. So that is why people will use the floating mediums. And I'm going to dip into the light blue, and we'll just give some on his feathers here, on his wing. Rinse that off, and we'll go into the dark blue. Pink. Sorry, we'll go into the dark pink. See how that one got all over my brush? And this is why you go with the bigger, the better, right? Because now that's all over my brush and it's not even like on the tip. It's on the whole brush, which is why you want to go with the biggest brush you can use for the piece that you're painting. And I like the angle brushes. Some people will use flat brushes. Don't be afraid to use flat brushes either. You could try them both. Find out what works for you. So that's really the basic rundown of shading and highlighting, the two different options that I do. It does take practice. So it's not something that you're going to be like, I'm going to go do it and it's going to be perfect. Guess what? No, it's not. I've been playing with this and learning this technique for a year now. And sometimes I get it right and sometimes I don't. That's just the way it is as part of painting, right? Sometimes you get things right and sometimes you don't. And sometimes you're like, wow, that sucked. I'm going to do it over. But those are the two basic techniques for shading, floating, layering the other colors. Paint has to be wet if you want them to blend. If you don't, if you want the harsh lines, then it'll be dry, and that's why you get the harsh lines. So, and then floating mediums, you can use the different floating mediums, angle brush, you can use a flat brush, all the different techniques. You guys just try it. Just don't be afraid to ruin your pieces. It's okay. Like if I totally hated this, I'd let it dry and I'd come back and I'd paint over it in a totally different color. So that's what's great about paint. And just let it dry and come back to it and you can paint over it. So don't worry if you're like, oh, I just totally ruined my whole kit. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Let it dry, paint over it. That's all there is to it. And practice, lots and lots and lots of practice until it feels like second nature in your hand, with a brush, with a sponge, with all the different ways that you can do it. You guys got this. Totally know you do. Now show me, I want to see in the comments and in the Facebook group, the different techniques that you're trying and you're using to shade and highlight. Show them to me. Okay. Till next time, guys. Bye.